WWE Hell in a Cell just passed by this weekend, and we're going to talk about that show and everything that happened on it, as well as AEW. Alright, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I did not watch a lot of wrestling this week. I would say I watched probably little to no wrestling. So, we're winging this episode. Today, we're going to talk about the very first episode of iCarly on Paramount Plus. 10 must-see Stardom matches that if you are just trying to get into the product, these are 10 matches you gotta see right now. The top 10 COVID-era WWE matches, why I skipped AEW Dynamite last week, and a very loaded Q&A, up to 60 questions I'm going to rapid-fire go through and unlock some wrestling memories you guys may not know about me. This, guys, is the 53rd episode of the Chill Spill podcast. The S is silent, by the way. Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Tyler Mask, aka Suplex. That's SOOPLEXX on Twitch and SOOPLEX on TikTok. Big shout out to my TikTok channel, which has now 5,000 followers. We grew, guys. We grew over 1,500 followers in the course of one day. All due to like two TikToks I did that did collectively 300,000 followers. 300,000, I wish. 300,000 views. So I accrued a lot of followers that way, got a lot of likes. Channel's been getting a lot of traffic, so I'm really happy about that. Please do yourself a favor and go follow me on TikTok if you have not already. I'm putting out a lot of great content over there, a lot of funny content, a lot of informal wrestling content, all the like. Hopefully you guys go over there and follow, because that's where I'm really having a lot of fun on TikTok right now. So go follow me there. Of course, go subscribe to your boy right here on this channel if you've not already too. Have a lot of fun doing this podcast and all that kind of stuff. Go follow me on Twitter, all that good shit. You guys know the deal. It's all on the top right hand corner. But aka Tyler Kun Williams, aka the one who lived, and guys, welcome back to the 53rd edition of the Chill Spill podcast, and that is pill spelled with an S, but it's silent, much like I was when I was preparing podcast notes yesterday. Because not gonna lie, I was preparing notes and I'm like, damn, I did not watch a lot of wrestling this week. I did not watch Dynamite last week. I didn't watch anything from Hell in a Cell. I didn't watch Raw or Smackdown. Y'all already know I don't watch Raw or Smackdown. I was gonna watch NXT, but then I started watching it, then like a quarter of the way through, I just gave up. I'm like, I don't fucking care about NXT. I didn't watch any New Japan. I started watching like the Stardom episode like after the latest Cinderella show, but then I got busy and got caught up, and I didn't end up resuming back to it. So I just did not get around to watching any wrestling this week. So I'm like, damn, well, let me check some news articles, see what's going on in World of Wrestling. And there wasn't really much news to talk about this week, so I'm like, well, shit. I don't know. What do we talk about this week? So I'm like, you know what? We gonna wing this episode. Well, we not winging it. It's not like completely I don't know what I'm talking about. I just made some topics up. And the first thing I want to talk about is not wrestling related, because as you guys know, I have to remind you guys constantly, this is the Chill Spill podcast, not the Chill Spill Wrestling podcast. I can talk about anything I want on here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the first episode of iCarly. Now, if you guys don't know, I was born in 1997, 24 years old. So I grew up in the era of iCarly, Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Wizards of Waverly Place. All those 2010s show I grew up on. I grew up on those shows, the late 2000s, early 2010s shows. That was my childhood. iCarly was a part of that. Now, at the time, I do have a little sister who is 7 years younger than me. My little sister, who I want to say was maybe 3 or 4 when iCarly first came out, she was a way bigger fan of the show. You know, she liked watching the show. And because I'm the big brother, I was basically forced to watch the shows that she watched, because, you know, little sister gets precedence over the remote a lot of the time. So I was kind of forced to watch that first season of iCarly. Second season, I more or less am I guess this is okay. I'll tolerate watching this with her. Then the last 2 seasons, I want to say iCarly went on for 3-4 seasons. I think iCarly had like 4 seasons total. iCarly 2010. I think iCarly had like 4 seasons, right? iCarly had 6 seasons. Yeah, that makes sense because iCarly went on to like 2012, I think, right? Yeah, 2012. Yeah, iCarly had like 6 seasons. So I would say once they got to like season 3 and 4, that's when I kind of really started to actually like the show and could watch it by myself. Like the first 3 seasons, I watched with my sister. Like the last 3 seasons, I think I watched either with her or by myself. And like the last season, we definitely watched together because she, at that point in time, she was like, what, 9, 10 years old. So she was like, you know, I want to watch it, don't watch it without me, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, all right, when iCarly ended, not gonna lie, I was a little bit upset, but I'm like, you know what? I'm like 14, 15 years old. I ain't about to be upset that this little kid show ended. I was like, I'm a fucking man. I ain't upset this shit ended, even though a little bit of me was a bit upset about it. But 10 years later, I hear the rumblings that iCarly's getting a reboot. Now, I ain't gonna lie, first I'm like, this show don't need a reboot. I'm one of those people. I don't think everything needs a reboot. Everything does not need to be remastered. Everything does not need to be retouched upon. If it was great, you can leave it as is. Now, I don't think you can't ever do reboots. I'm not saying those aren't possible. They should never be done. I just don't think everything needs one. iCarly, in my opinion, did not really need one. Necessarily. I think it ended on good terms, and you couldn't get back all the characters. We already know they couldn't get Jeanette McCurdy to reprise her role as Sam Puckett, and they could not get Noah Monk to reprise his role as Gibby. So you're already missing 2 key characters of the show, and you could argue Gibby is not a key character. In that final season, Gibby was a key character. Look no further than the fact that he was actually in the title card in the final season. So Gibby, I say, is a pretty key character in the show. So without Sam and Gibby, it's like, oh, is this really iCarly? I mean, especially Sam. Sam was the co-host of iCarly. On top of that, she was the second most important character to iCarly. If anything, I think a lot of people will even say Sam was the best character in iCarly. I mean, you could run down the line of iCarly, Spencer, Freddie. Sam was just, just aggressive in nature, and I think it's just the fact that she was so aggressive and just so against the norm of what we know Nickelodeon Disney characters to be. That's why a lot of people liked Sam. And to not have the best character on the show, it's kind of like, ooh, that's like The Walking Dead without Rick. we all know what happened to The Walking Dead after Rick left. At least that first half, the last half, season 9 after Rick left, people just fell off with the show. It's like The Walking Dead without Rick. It's like, I don't know. Well, I guess technically The Walking Dead without Rick is not a good analogy because Carly would be Rick. So The Walking Dead without Shane, which the show survived without Shane, but you still have a lot of people who say that they should have kept Shane and the show fell off without Shane. So I'll just say it's The Walking Dead without Shane. I think that Sam is in a place where Jeanette is in a place where she does not want to do acting anymore. She does not want to be in the industry, and that's her life. Obviously, she can do whatever she wants. She doesn't want to be in it. She should not be in it. Protect your mental health, all that good shit. Gibby, same way, I think, more or less. Though that happened, I said, you know what? I'm going to give the show a try. I'll watch it with my sister. So I visited my sister this weekend, and we did not watch the show. We ended up being out with family, hanging out with my dad, because it was Father's Day when I went to see my sister. So we didn't end up watching the show. So I watched it like yesterday for the podcast, and I ain't gonna lie, I ended up liking the episode. Now, there were some things about the episode that it was like, eh. But, first episode, I think I watched the rest of the season to really form a formal opinion. But first impressions, it gave me nostalgia vibes because it was essentially iCarly just grown up. They weren't like touching back. They weren't reprising the exact same roles. Like they were, yes, it is Carly Shay, it is Spencer Shay, it is Freddie Benson and all those characters, but they're 28. Spencer's in his 40s. Carly, she's been through a few things in her life. She's went to college. She's done this. She's done that. Now she's trying to get back into her role of being iCarly. And what's really interesting about iCarly now is that when iCarly first started, you had Carly and Sam doing this web show. And at the time, in 2010, like YouTube, it was a thing. Like it was, I want to say YouTube was big, but it was not enormous. Like YouTube is enormous. YouTube is bigger than television, bigger than cable now. And I said this years ago, YouTube is going to be bigger than cable. YouTube is bigger than cable now. We have YouTube fucking TV now. YouTube is bigger than cable. Before then, YouTube was still kind of, I don't want to say YouTube was the Wild West, but YouTube was the breeding ground at that point. Like if you wanted to get big on YouTube, 2010 was the period of time where you had to really be putting out the best shit. And if you were lucky enough, you made it. And if you were lucky enough to make it then, you're a legacy YouTuber now. I mean, think about the YouTubers from 2010. Shane Dawson, that's the bad example. Shane Dawson, Smosh, Dashy Games, PewDiePie, Tobuscus, what's another one? Jacksepticeye, Markiplier. All those YouTubers from like the 2010s, those are like legacy, legendary YouTubers now. A lot of them still do YouTube, but when you think about them, those are people you grew up on. You know what I mean? They were like, they knew what they were doing, but now they know what they're doing. These guys already made their bread, made their money. A lot of them are already millionaires and all that kind of shit, and they don't really need to do it anymore if they don't want to, but they're still doing it. In 2010, YouTube was nowhere near as big, but iCarly was a show basically surrounding about these teenage girls wanting to be YouTubers. Let's just say how it is. They wanted to be YouTubers. They wanted to be internet celebrities. And that was the basis of the show. And it was a cool concept because there was no other show doing that concept. iCarly was a very original concept. If you could find me a show with that concept, please do. But I can't think of a show with that concept. So it was very original. And I feel like they had a really good cast, a really good direction. I think if I watched a season of iCarly back now, I think I might laugh and chuckle here and there, but it ain't gonna be belly laughs and shit because it's a bunch of childish humor and whatnot. But it was enjoyable. And I feel like now we get that sense of them being, you know, I didn't see Carly curse or Spencer do anything outrageous like I seen in the clips, which is probably coming in future episodes. I mean, the show did open up with Spencer being naked. I mean, not butt-ass naked. But he had an apron on and you could see like a side cheek or whatnot. So we opened up and we already knew it was going to be a PG-13 show. And I'm like, oh shit, this is, I like this already. I like this already. First major thing I want to say about this episode of iCarly that a lot of people may not have caught on to, and I want to thank a user on TikTok who pointed this out because I didn't notice this until they said it, and then when I watched the episode, then I really noticed it. This first episode, I don't know about future episodes, but the first episode of iCarly was directed by Phil Lewis. And if you don't remember or know that name, Phil Lewis was Mr. Mosby in The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody and Sweet Life on Deck. I lost my mind when I thought about that. I'm like, Mr. Mosby from Disney Channel directed a Nickelodeon show. I mean, he directed the episode. He didn't direct the show. But, like, that blows my mind. Because this is actually a good episode. Like, he's actually a good director. I liked it. It touched upon a lot of things that made the old iCarly what it was. It was a lot of the silly, haha, sitcom humor. It gave you that feel of it being another sitcom, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but it did feel like the original iCarly in its essence, and that's something that I like about it. Now, to talk about the characters, Carly, she was just grown Carly. I mean, I feel like at its core, Carly she has the dynamic and she has her place as the main character, but I still don't feel like she is the most interesting one. Like, she is the key character, but she's not the most interesting one. The same applies to The Walking Dead. Rick is the key character, but he's not the most interesting character. Like, it goes to other people. And I'll say who for the first episode, who I think is the most interesting character. But Carly was okay. Spencer, still the same Spencer. I think I gotta say, he's toned down. He's a toned down version of the original Spencer. It's not as sporadic and, you know, outrageous as the original Spencer was. He's a little more level-headed and not level-headed. He's a little bit more centered now, a little bit more mature. He's rich. He made money off of his inventions from when he was younger. So that's cool. That's a nice evolution of the character. You know, him having a whole, rich uppity party in his apartment with all these people trying to, you know, build the next sculpture to make millions of dollars. Like that is interesting in my opinion. A nice take on his character. Freddy essentially was just Freddy. Like, Freddy almost did not evolve at all. I mean, the only thing about Freddy's character that really took him in that kind of different direction is that he's been divorced 2 times and he adopted his stepdaughter. Well, I guess former stepdaughter. Now it is his actual daughter. But that's really all there was to Freddy. Like, without... Here's the thing about Sam not being there. Freddy and Sam had the dynamic that really kept that show going. Imagine iCarly if it was just Carly and Spencer. Like, it would be a boring show. But the abusive relationship between, and I hate saying abusive relationship was the best part of the show, but the abusive relationship between Sam and Freddy ended up developing into a romantic relationship, then going back into a, like, that kind of carried the original iCarly in a sense. And without Sam being there, Freddy just kind of felt like a, I don't want to say a lifeless character, but he just kind of felt like he existed there to be Carly's backup. Like, to be, he's not even simping for Carly, because in the original Carly, Freddy was a simp. Freddy was a simp for Carly. Now, he never simped over Sam, but he was a simp for Carly. And that was a part of his character, is that he would try to get drinks, and Carly would be like, no, you ain't worth it. Stay in your place, White Knight. Incel, whatever. But here, he's not even simping for Carly anymore. Like, he's kind of already gave up on the idea. Now, I don't know in future episodes if he's going to, try to simp for it more, but in this episode, he definitely did not, which, evolution. He got over it. He moved on. Good. But if he's not simping for Carly, and he's not getting abused by Sam, then what is he doing? He's trying to be a father to Millicent, and we really didn't get to see much of it in the first episode, so we did get to see the return of his mother, Mrs. Benson. So, yeah, you get the dynamic of Freddy and Freddy's mom. So that's the only thing going for him. Imagine if the mom wasn't there. Freddy would just be existing on the show. So I'm glad the mom came back because Freddy needed the mom there. If not, Freddy could have just be off the show, and I don't think anyone would care. But getting into the new characters, because once again, no Sam, no Gibby. So we have Harper, who is Carly's roommate. Harper comes across to me as a token black female character. I hate to say it, but she does. I don't really see much special about, and this is not an insult to Lacey Mosley, who portrays the Harper character. I'm sure she is a damn good actor in any other show. I'm sure she's a good actor here. I'm sure she's a damn good person in real life. But the Harper character, as far as episode 1 goes, ain't doing much for me. She seems like any other black female character I've seen in every other white show. We all seen the sitcoms, kids sitcoms, adult sitcoms, where it's a predominantly white cast. And to throw in the diversity, they throw in the one black character. Oh, girl, let me tell you. Like, it just comes across as this is every black character in every white TV show. That's what she comes across to me as. It's like she was, I don't want to say she was a turnoff to me, but she didn't do anything for me because I've seen her character in too many different sitcoms. So I'll give her time because obviously this is episode 1 and we have to see more of what she's about, but Now, the character that I think has a lot of potential is Millicent. Millicent is Freddy's adopted daughter. She came from one of Freddy's marriages, well, ex-marriages, I should say. And I like her character a lot because I think there's a lot of potential in the dynamic she has with Carly because there was, and I said already, there was a dynamic between Freddy and Sam that really kept that show going. And in this first episode, it's kind of established that, Carly's trying to make a comeback as, being online, all that kind of stuff. She's trying to get her following back because, she fell off. Not fell off, but, she stopped doing it for a long period of time. Now she's trying to get it back. Millicent, she also wants to be a content creator. She's starting from, zero like we all have to. And she sees Carly's competition. And throughout the episode, you see her taking little digs at Carly. It's playful, yet she means it. Like, it's playful digs, but underlying she means that she does not like Carly. She doesn't despise, because she doesn't hate Carly, but she hates the fact that Carly is more popular than her. Because I feel like we've all been there. We've all been there. We've all envied somebody. And I feel like I can feel Millicent. I understand why. She's young. She doesn't get it. I feel like there's a lot of potential with that character. I think she is really good, and she has not enough dialogue in this episode. So future episodes we'll see more of that character. But I like Millicent. I think so far she's the one that catches my eye the most, and Harper, like, eh. As far as the episode goes, I like the general episode of Carly trying to come back into being that, not knowing where she wanted to be, her ex-boyfriend, saying, I found somebody else, and her. It really showed who, like, the dynamic of a older 20-something-year-old. Like, that's who Carly is now, and I really like that. And everything else about the episode, I just, I genuinely thought was fine. Now, I thought a lot of it was kind of, dry sitcom comedy, so I'm not saying this is a blowaway. This is nothing on the levels of Martin or anything, but, I liked it. I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. I'll be there for 2 and 3, which 2 and 3 are already on Paramount Plus. I just have not watched them yet. So I'll probably watch them this week and then watch episode 4, and then I'll likely give you guys an update in the coming weeks. Maybe we'll have you know what we should do? We should do a portion of this podcast for the next few weeks where each episode is dedicated to iCarly. That's what we might do. Comment down below if you guys want me to do that. I think we should. But let me know. All right. iCarly out the way. Let's now talk about wrestling, since you guys are here to listen to me talk about wrestling for some fucking reason. AEW this week. Last week, I skipped it. Not gonna lie, I didn't watch a single thing from AEW last week. I caught the YouTube clip of the MMA quote, air quotes on fight, between Jake Hager and Wardlow. But y'all, these last 3 weeks, this whole month of AEW since Double or Nothing has been a bunch of, like, oh my lord. They are dragging their feet, and it shows. And you know what? If we had AEW being like, okay this week, good this week, okay, it happens, bro. It's not the first time AEW's had an show. It's not the first time. Because every show is going to have an episode. Every show is going to have a bad episode. Everything can't be great all the time, 100% of the time. I understand that as a viewer, as a consumer. I understand everything can't be 100%, 100% of the time. However, when a show is at its worst, and I'm not going to say this is the worst I've ever seen in AEW. I mean, it may be the worst I've ever seen in AEW. It may be the worst I've ever seen in AEW, honestly, in terms of, and that's a good thing to say that, because all good show has its flaws, but this being the worst is a good thing, because I don't think this is terrible television. It's just subpar, and at its worst, it being subpar is a good thing for AEW, but it's still the worst for AEW right now. I say it's at its worst because I can see, and I think a lot of fans see this as well, I can see that they are not really trying. They have 4 shows lined up in July: Road Rager, Fighter Fest, and Fight for the Fallen. And that's going to be back on the road, Miami, Texas. They're getting ready for Rampage in August. They have a lot of things to get ready for, a lot of things to prepare for. And right now is just a period of time to get from point A to point B. And it seems like because there's nothing really to do until we get to Road Rager, let's just throw a few matches on. Let's just throw a few feuds together that could get us through the rest of the month. And the fact that I can visually see that they are not trying, that bugs me as a viewer. And that is why I did not even give this show my time last week, because I can see they're not trying. They're not trying. They're just waiting for the end of the month. And you know what? When we get to the end of the month and we get to Road Rager and things pick back up, AEW may end up being the best wrestling show in the world as it once was at one point in time. But as of right now, Stardom taking their place. For at least 3 weeks, Stardom took their place. And I just cannot see myself giving time to AEW until they give me something that I care about. And this week, I think they gave me something that I can sink my teeth into, so I will watch AEW this coming Saturday. This coming Saturday, of course, we have 2 matches. Hangman Page versus Powerhouse Hobbs. I think this is probably going to be the start period for them to start building back up Hangman Page to be a potential world championship, contender for Kenny Omega, which they were doing heading into Double or Nothing, and then Brian Cage beat him, and that kind of sent him off the rails. So this is his chance to really get back onto that. I saw on Twitter that being the Elite teased Hangman Page going after the world title, so that probably is the direction for All Out. I mean, we're heading into a big month for them. They could do Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega there. I don't see a reason why they would do that unless they want to do Kenny Omega beating Hangman Page at one of those shows and then build up to like a final match at All Out where they do like a do or die situation, which if they want to do that, they can. I just don't see them doing that. So I'm going to say that maybe for now, they're going to keep Hangman Page as kind of, getting wins up. And then once we get to August, then it's like, all right, now we're getting the gears rolling. Now Hangman Page wants to actually challenge Kenny Omega, because Hangman Page is in this spot where he doesn't really, it's like he wants to be world champion, but I don't think he wants to beat Kenny Omega to be the world champion. That's where I feel like his character is heading right now, from at least the stories I've seen him in and from what I've watched of him the last year. That's where I feel like his character is. And I still genuinely believe Hangman Page is the best character on AEW television, even despite him being in the background for a lot of this year so far. He is still one of, if not the best character in AEW right now. And I think this is the time to rebuild him back up. So this is the time to do it. Hangman Page beats Powerhouse Hobbs. Then the main event of that show, Kenny Omega versus Jungle Boy for the AEW World Championship. That's going to be a really good, possibly even great match. Jungle Boy does not have a chance at winning this match, though. Like, I understand they tried to build it up for the last 3 weeks, and it has not been relatively great build up, but build up nonetheless for this match. But nobody believes Jungle Boy is beating Kenny Omega. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. There are a few names, maybe even 2 or 3 names you can give me that could beat Kenny Omega that I'll be like, yeah, I could see that. Jungle Boy is not one of them. I'm not saying Jungle Boy will never be world champion, because in 2-3 years, maybe he will, maybe he won't. But current day, not his time. So Jungle Boy will lose, Kenny Omega will retain. And the interesting thing about Jungle Boy is that Jungle Boy has been on this very weird path in AEW where they push him and then they stop, and then they push him and then they stop, and then they push him and then they stop, and now we're back into their pushing him period. The question is, are they going to keep him in this top mid-card spot, or is he going to slip back down into the tag division with Luchasaurus? Because I keep on hearing, the trios titles are coming, which we've been hearing for the last year now, so I don't know when the fuck they're actually coming. If they're coming, I can easily see them bringing them back down to the tag division. But if they're not coming, I think they should keep him in that top mid-card division and possibly be the one to beat Miro. That's what I think, at least. But we'll see. Now, that is this coming Saturday. Next Wednesday is looking to be a good show. That is going to be the last show of the Daily's Place era for AEW. And on that show so far, we have Miro versus Brian Pillman Jr. for the AEW TNT Championship, which Miro's going to win. They're feeding people to Miro. Miro's basically on the whole Cody Rhodes TNT Open Challenge thing, except it's not the TNT Open Challenge. So we're just feeding people to Miro. We don't have a direction of who's going to beat him. We just know that Miro's going to be champion for a while, which I'm okay with. So Miro is definitely going to win it. Actually, before I get off the topic, Andrade, in the promo I saw him with Jim Ross, actually alluded to want to go after the TNT Championship. So we could be building up to Miro versus Andrade very soon, which that sounds like a tasty-ass match. But it's going to be interesting because I think Andrade El Idolo is a heel. At least because he's paired off with Vicky. So, heel versus heel. That's an interesting one, but we'll see. We'll see. Speaking of Vicky, the next match on the show, Britt Baker and Rebel versus Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero. Vicky Guerrero is going to wrestle in 2021. Now, Vicky is, I believe, 53 years old. She's up there. She's definitely up there. We see Sting wrestle at elite level. Elite level. Get it? Elite. Elite. They wrestled at a pretty good level for 63 years old. But Vicky has not wrestled in 10 years, bro. I don't think she's wrestling. I think this is a scapegoat. is he's going to insert someone else in her place. And I think her and Nyla will win. And then he'll set up Nyla and Britt Baker, hopefully, for one of the July shows. I do not want to see Britt Baker versus Nyla Rose at All Out. I do not. I am good. I am over seeing Nyla Rose contend for this title every other month. I'm good. I'm good. And then what I assume will be the main event of this show, which I personally would have had on one of the July shows, but I could see why they had on this show, because they want to have, a big match to go off of Daily's place. MJF versus Sammy Guevara. This has been a feud that's been going on for months now. Ever since MJF wanted to join the Inner Circle back in the fall of last year, MJF and Sammy Guevara have been feuding. And it's been a really good feud. And I've been wanting to see this match for months now. And they refuse to give it to me. And now Matt's going to get it, so I won't complain as much. Who wins? This could go either way. I believe it should be Sammy. MJF rarely, if ever, loses. As a matter of fact, I don't know if he's ever lost a singles match except for Jon Moxley. If they want to really get the gears rolling with Sammy Guevara and possibly get him on track to be contending for the World Championship soon, because Sammy's a babyface now. If they want to do Sammy versus Kenny, they can do it now. They can do it with the roles reversed and for the World Championship. Mind you, they have done Kenny versus Sammy. I believe they did that match last year for the AAA Mega Championship. So if they wanted to do that match again for the World Championship, now Sammy's a babyface and Kenny is a heel. And I think that's a great time to do it. Maybe you do it on the July show, July tour. Maybe you do it in August. I don't know, but they can build up to it. And I think the way to do it is that Sammy go over here. However, MJF is still one of their top heels. And I could easily see MJF use some slimy, sleazy business to get the job done. So 50-50. But if I had to put my money down, MJF wins this match. I want Sammy to win, but money down, MJF gets the win here. And that is AEW this week and next week. And let's hop into Stardom. But before I do that, let me take a sip of some agua because my throat is getting a bit parched here. Refreshing water. So, World Wonder Ring Stardom had one of the greatest matches in the history of professional wrestling, according to everybody in the universe. Last 2 weeks ago, COD versus Utami Hayashishita at Stardom Tokyo Dream Cinderella. And to all the Stardom fans out there, and to all the new Stardom fans out there, I figured I would compile a list of my 10 favorite Stardom matches. 10 matches that I think are absolute must-see. They're not ranked, but these are 10 matches that I believe if you are trying to get into Stardom, you must watch these matches. They will get you into these wrestlers in some way, shape, or form. So, first on this list is COD versus Utami Hayashishita. That was a tremendous match. Dave Meltzer gave it 5.5 stars. I don't necessarily agree with the whole thing of going over your limit. Maybe, once in a blue moon, like maybe a select few matches. But now you have fucking 30 matches that have gone over 5 stars. So it's kind of ruined the whole 5-star metric, in my opinion. At least in my opinion, to his opinion. But COD Utami Hayashishita is going to go down as one of the greatest matches Stardom's ever had, and should go down as one of the best women's matches of the modern era. And that is an absolute must-see if you are going to be watching Stardom anytime soon. Must-see if you want to watch wrestling in general. Watch that match, please. Both Mayu Iwatani versus Takumi Iroha matches from last year. The first being at Stardom, the Major Way to League 2020, and the second being at the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League Day 4. Now, the series of Mayu and Takumi from last year, in my opinion, is one of the best matches of last year. I did a top 50 matches of 2020 on this channel last year. And I believe Takumi versus Mayu ranked number 6 in 50 matches. It was a fucking great match. And I would have to rewatch it back to really say if I think this match is better than Shiori and Utami. Honestly and truly, it was the best women's match of last year. The first one was. The second match, I've only seen one time. But in the one time I saw it, I thought it was tremendous as well. I still prefer the first match, but the second match is still tremendous. I would even say that one, if the first one is 10 out of 10, the second one might be 9.5 out of 10. They had fucking great chemistry in here. Very hard hitting. A lot of just shit you're gonna love. So please do yourself a favor. If you're not gonna watch both, just watch the first one, The Way to Major League. It happened, I want to say, March of last year. Seek it out, please. The next one on this list, Tam Nakano versus Kagetsu from Stardom's 9-year anniversary, which also happened January of last year. This match went about 9-10 minutes, but was a tremendous display of just how great of an in-ring storyteller Tam Nakano is. Now, Kagetsu was in this match. I will not add that out at all. But Tam Nakano, through facial expressions and body language, is bar none one of the best in-ring storytellers that there is. She was just so giving in this match. Like, she gave Kagetsu a lot in terms of making it like she was in pain, making you feel for her. But then the backstory of this match, Kagetsu being the one to bring Tam into Oedo Tai, and then Oedo Tai sending Tam on her way after she lost the match, and then Tam kind of thanking Kagetsu for allowing her to leave and become her own person, become the woman that she is today, all going into this match. It really showed the emotion of these two women. And then after the match happened, and I want to say Tam won, because this is one of the, Kagetsu's final matches in Stardom. I believe this is her last singles match in Stardom. After Tam won, and Tam breaks down in tears and starts crying, and they had that emotional promo. It almost got me emotional, bro, and I don't even have attachment to them. At least at that point. I didn't have too much of an attachment to either woman. But, it just showed you just how amazing Stardom was. And it's still one of my favorite matches of 2020. So go watch Tam and Kagetsu from Stardom 9-year anniversary. Next on our list is Io Shirai versus Mayu Iwatani from Stardom Year-End Climax 2016. This, before Shiori versus Utami, was the highest rated Stardom match in cage match, and many will tell you is one of the best Joshi matches of the 2010s. Io Shirai, in her prime, you could say she's in her prime now, NXT. I would argue she's definitely not. But Io Shirai from 2014 to 2019 was definitely at her peak, and she was just tremendous in just about everything she did. Then here you had Mayu and Io, who were the best wrestlers of their generation, especially Io Shirai, who I believe is still one of the best women's wrestlers of the current generation. Mayu Iwatani, you could say, is definitely one of, if not the best, male or female of the current generation. They just had amazing. I'm not going to go by below for any of these matches. Not going to lie to you guys. I'm just going to say it's great and move on. It was great. Go watch it. Next in here is Julia versus Tam Nakano from Stardom All-Star Dream Cinderella. Now, before we got into Shiori versus Utami, people would say that the best Stardom match of the year was Julia versus Tam. And it somehow has slipped under the cracks after Shiori and Utami happened, but I'll give it its flowers back. Because Julia and Tam had an amazing match. It was hair versus hair, so it had that level of intensity. It had that level of, high, what's the word I'm looking for? It had the level of high importance because not only was it a championship match, but one woman could lose all of her hair, and it was Julia, a woman who rarely, if ever, lost. And the story of Tam Nakano chasing that Wonder of Stardom championship for 2 years and could never get the job done, being able to finally beat Julia. It was an emotional moment because, once again, Tam Nakano was just the fucking best at storytelling in the ring. And seeing her win it was just an emotional moment. And I think even if you don't entirely know the story of either woman, this match had a lot going into it. And for that reason, it's another banger from Stardom this year. So go watch it. Next on this list, Arisa Hoshiki versus Jungle Kyona from Stardom X Stardom 2019. Another great banger from Stardom that often gets forgotten about. I don't realize why it gets forgotten. I do realize it because Stardom has so many fucking great matches that people kind of just tend to forget about the other ones they had. But just another display of exactly why Stardom kicked so much ass. It was not one of the it's one of the later Arisa matches I watched because when I first started getting to Stardom, a lot of the recent matches were towards the latter half of her career, into, the end of her career. But Jungle and Arisa was just a tremendous display of powerhouse versus not so much high flyer, because Arisa could high fly, but that's not really her moveset, versus striker, I should say. And Jungle could strike on her own, too. But just all the kickouts and everything, it was a tremendous match. Go watch it. The next one, Momo Watanabe versus Mayu Iwatani from 5-Star Grand Prix 2019, Day 9. This is a match that is a absolute hidden gem. I don't know why people don't talk about it enough. They had a match in 2020 that people said, oh, was one of the best matches of the year. And then I always look at them and I say, have you forgotten about their match in 2019? This match is a sprint to the finish. If you loved Ishii versus Shibata, if you loved Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio, if you loved Kenta versus Ricky Marvin, this may not be on par with either of the 3 matches I just named, but god damn it, it's right there. It is right there. It is a goddamn really good sprint. Like I said, it's not a tremendous match. It's not anywhere close to the 6 matches I just named for you. But if you want a quick match to just digest and watch and just really, feel like you have high energy and you want something that's quick, fast, gets the job done, this is the match for you. It doesn't stop. It's I don't know how many more words I could use. It's nonstop action, bro. Watch it. Io Shirai versus Momo Watanabe from Stardom Gold Star 2018. This is the second match I ever seen from Stardom. The first being Io Shirai versus Kairi Hojo. This was the second match I watched. It was Momo and Io. And this was the match that really got me into Stardom, honestly. Like, Io Shirai kicked a lot of ass, and Momo woke my eyes up. I'm like, god damn, this woman kicks hard as shit. She's young as hell. And she beat Io on her way out. Like, this match woke me up to Stardom when I wanted to get into it. So, in that matter, it's a special place in my heart. So, everyone go watch it. And then the last match on this list is the one that really solidified my love for Stardom and women's wrestling, if I had not already solidified that. And it is Arisu Shiki versus Tam Nakano from Stardom Shining Destiny 2019. This, in my opinion, is still one of the greatest women's matches I've ever seen in my entire life. It's just tremendous storytelling. I've said tremendous like 15 fucking times already. I know, I'm sorry. But it's amazing. I would have to watch this match back again because I don't know if I would say this is better than CRD versus Utami, because personally I still like this match more. But is it better? I don't know. Now, I might have to rank these matches one day. But right now, these are just out of order. And these are matches I think you should all watch. So do yourself a favor. Listen to what I just said. List all these matches down. Mark off the ones you have not seen. And then watch all the ones you have not seen. And if you have not seen all of them, then watch them all. And then come back to the video and tell me why I was right. But yeah, those are my 10 must-see starter matches from 2020. Next, I want to go through my top 10 Covetera WWE matches. These are matches that happened from March 2020 to March 2021, not counting WrestleMania. Was WrestleMania March? Or was that April? WrestleMania was April. So from March 2020 to March 2021. Now you could say, oh, but WrestleMania is still during COVID. Once you got to a full crowd show, I believe that's basically just the end of the COVID era. Like, this is just a kind of a period between getting. This is the period where AEW's at right now. They're getting from point A to point B. They're getting from COVID era to back on the road. So I don't count WrestleMania onward. I just count March to March. So, first on this list, Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre from Raw of March 1st, 2021. Just a goddamn shockingly great match. And I say shockingly because when I hear Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre on paper, I don't think they're going to have a really good match. Now, Drew was great. Sheamus is really good on a really good day. But I just don't think they're going to have a really good one. But damn, they really brought everything to this match, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. I'm going to go through this really quickly once again. I don't want to waste too much time. Number 9, Alexander Wolf and Vulture versus Pete Dunne and Elia Draganov from NXT UK, the October 2nd, 2020 edition. One of the best tag team matches of the year. I will say it to the day I die. This match had no business being as great as it was. A lot of people, for some reasons, just kind of forget about this match, but please do yourself a favor and seek it out. Kyle O'Reilly versus Pete Dunne, ladder match from NXT, the November 25th edition of 2020. Once again, another really good ladder match. Go watch it. AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan from Smackdown, June 8th, 2020. This is one of the best matches of the year. I had to watch it back 2 times to really appreciate it, but it was a slower paced technical matchup that I think a lot of fans may not appreciate, but it was everything you would love about a Daniel Bryan match, and all the more you will appreciate and come to love about AJ Styles matches that are not always, in your face. I think it's one of those bangers. AJ Styles versus Jeff Hardy versus Sami Zayn. Triple threat ladder match from Clash of Champions 2020. This is just fun. Fun, chaotic. Everything you would love about a ladder match is in this ladder match. And I saw some spots I never even seen in a ladder match before. I saw fucking Jeff Hardy almost kill himself 2 times. Jeff Hardy and AJ Styles, Sami Zayn and AJ Styles taking some very dangerous bumps. Like this and the Clash of Champions ladder match from last year, 2019, all crazy. All crazy, and I love it. Bayley versus Sasha Banks from Hell in a Cell 2020. Once again, another banger that Sasha Banks and Bayley had. All their matches are great, but this is another one. The Hell in a Cell match, it will go down as one of the best Hell in a Cell matches, male or female, and fight me on that one. But they utilized every weapon you can imagine, even the dreaded kendo stick, and they utilized the cell. Now, they did not ever escape the cell, which I never expected them to, but they utilized it to their advantage, and I thought they had they had an amazing match. Johnny Gargano versus Kushida from NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day. This comes from one of the best pay-per-views of the year. It may go down as the best pay-per-view of the year, but I say that under the same breath as saying that WrestleMania 37 Night 1 and All-Star Dream Cinderella and Double or Nothing are in that same category. So I don't know. It's going to be a hard one when we get to December and have to debate. But Kushida and Johnny Gargano was just a display of what old NXT used to be and the essence of what it should be nowadays. Maybe not always this kind of pacing of slow in the beginning and gradually building up like a New Japan-esque match, but just I miss this NXT so much. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, Clash of Champions 2020. A lot of people tend to praise their Hell in a Cell match more because that felt more like a match than this one did. But I love Roman Reigns shit-talking Jey Uso the entire time, and the hope spot for Jey Uso that goes so underrated in their series. This deserves a rewatch if you've only seen it one time. Please rewatch it again, and you'll understand why I like this match more than the Hell in a Cell match. Finn Balor versus Kyle O'Reilly from NXT TakeOver 31. In my opinion, is top 10 matches of 2020 and one of the best matches from the COVID era in NXT. It is slow. It's a slower paced match. It really does not ever become fast. It is the most, I would say, All Japan, Noah's Ark type build up you will ever see for an NXT match. And there's something to love about that. There's something to love about body limb targeting and stiff strikes, and that's all you get. And maybe a stomp here and there, but that's all you get. And there's something to appreciate about that. And then last on this list, should not be a shocker to anybody, but Elia Draganov versus Vulture from NXT UK, October 29th, 2020. This match, still to this day, haunts me. I've seen 2 Elia versus Vulture matches. 3, actually, prior to this one, because they've had a great series. This one is just Elia getting the fucking shit beat out of him by Vulture, and him getting up, and resisting, and Hope Spot, getting his ass kicked, and it was a, oh, don't say tremendous again. Oh my God, don't say tremendous again. It was an absolute brutal beatdown, but it told an absolutely gracious story. And I think that if you've not seen it, which I'm pretty sure every single person listening to this have seen this match at least one time, but if you do not believe this is the best match WWE's had in the COVID era, please point me to what that is. And I know that if we could go back to January 2020, I would put the Royal Rumble in this, but because it is COVID era, the Royal Rumble will not be included. So that is my top 10 Covetera WWE matches. Now, I was going to do a rapid fire 50 questions, but I'm going to do that in a separate video because I want to keep this to an hour. So, I asked you guys some questions, and 8 of you responded. And here are the questions. Brooklyn Rican 92 asked me, is AEW the new TNA? I'm going to say yes and no. And the reason I say yes and no is because yes, in the sense that if you want to say that maybe 2005 to 2009, 2006 to 2010 TNA was like, you know, the second, you know, competitor for WWE, I would say arguably you were right. And while by competitor, you're going up from 1 million to like maybe someone who's at like, what, 5 million? Like, it was nowhere near close. Like, WWE and TNA were nowhere near close. TNA was competition in the sense that there was another wrestling promotion that was on TV. But they were never, ever, ever going to compete with WWE in the states that AEW is competing with WWE now. And even AEW is not competing with WWE right now in that much. They were never going to get to that level. However, TNA was one of the only alternatives you had for WWE. And they had great wrestling, great storytelling. Not all the time, but they did have it. Great matches, great storytelling. You had some former WWE talent in there. And what is AEW? Great talent, great matches, great storytelling. It felt different from WWE. Former WWE talent in there. A lot of top stars not from WWE. So in a sense, yes. But in a sense, I'm going to say no because AEW, in most senses, is way more popular and has more potential than old TNA did. Because the old TNA was on Spike TV and amounted to 1 million viewers at its peak. AEW amounts to 1 million at its peak, but it can always progress. AEW has so much more potential. AEW has 3 video games. It is on two different platforms. It's on TNT and it's on YouTube. And now it's going to be on TNT and TBS very soon. So 3 different platforms, not counting any other platform they are on, which I cannot recall at the moment. They have t-shirt lines. They have partnerships with so many other different companies. You see AEW promoted on TNT. You see them promoted on different outlets. Like, AEW is so much bigger than TNA wish they could have been at that point in time. So yes and no. Now, I think it's almost insulting to say that they are TNA, but I think that if you were to say they're relative to TNA back in the day, I don't think you're wrong. Mason Rawleyson, favorite non-comic book villain. It was hard to think about it for a second because, you know, I want to say, oh, Thanos, oh, Killmonger, oh, Omni-Man. Then I'm like, oh, they're comic book characters. So I had to think back. I'm like, okay, well, I've seen plenty of fucking movies and TV shows before wrestling. So what could I? Then I had it like right away. It was like a switch went off. And I went to one of my favorite movies. Sorry, let me get some more water. I have to clear my throat too many times. One of my all-time favorite movies, Inglourious Bastards. And the villain of that movie, in my opinion, is my favorite non-comic book villain, and that is Hans Landa. Hans Landa had no superpowers. He was a normal, mortal human being. But he was a Nazi. He was I believe, a general for the Nazi army at the period of time where, you know, World War II was happening. And this guy was so I mean, obviously, Nazis are detestable. But this guy was absolutely detestable. He was a maniac. I mean, he wasn't a maniac, but he was an absolute mass manipulator. He could talk his way through any situation, out of any situation. And you knew that even though he was smooth and he could get to anybody he wanted to, you knew how sleazy he was. But because you're watching him in action, there's nothing you could do about it. And you know the person he's talking to, they're falling right into his trap. And once they fall into his trap and he just shoots them, you're like, Christoph Waltz. I believe his name is Christoph Waltz. He was an absolutely outstanding actor. And I hold him to that. Hans Landa was just incredible for somebody who possessed no power other than he was a general in the Nazi army. And that's all that he had. And I'm not going to spoil what happens in the movie for anybody who didn't see it, but do yourself a favor. And if you have not seen Inglourious Bastards, go watch it. If you've only seen it one time, go rewatch it back and you'll see why I said that. But I believe that he is one of the best villains of all time. Not just my favorite, but of all time. He is one of the best cinematic villains. You'll put him up there with Hannibal Lecter. You could put him up there with Joker. I know Joker's a comic book, but Joker from Dark Knight. You could put him up there with, I don't know, fucking the other mother from Coraline. He deserves a spot in top 5, even top 3. Doesn't come close. Talk about NJPW returning to the US or Tokyo Dome show and a MetLife show. Cool Beans Entertainment says. I did already talk about that in the previous episode of the Chillsville podcast, but I will talk a little bit about New Japan of America because this week they did announce that they're having a resurgence show at the LA Coliseum on August 14th. And that show is going to have our never overweight champion Jay White, our US champion Jon Moxley, Ren Narita, Shota Onamo, finally turning up. We finally found him. Leo Rush, the Good Brothers, Finn Juice, Carl Fredericks, Fred Rosser, and the NJPW Strong Openweight Champion Tom Lawler himself. That's a pretty loaded show. I mean, not loaded because I've seen all those guys before, but that's a pretty stacked show for my opinion, if you ask me. The question is what the card's gonna look like. That's the question. What is the card gonna look like? Because if I lived in LA, I would go to this show. Now, I'm not about to fly to LA for this show. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I thought about it for a second, but I'm like, I ain't wasting my money on one fucking show. But I would watch this show. And I'm not even big on New Japan right now. I will watch this show. I'm actually excited for it just for the talent alone. I'm excited for it. Wei Liang Long. Do you think WWE will reunite Piper Niven, or Dewdrop as her name is, and Io Shirai? No, they will not. And can you please do a room tour? No, I will not because my room is messy. I need to clean it. Wei Liang Long also asks, what do you think about Oedo Tai and Stars rivalry? I like it a lot. I like Stars and Oedo Tai's rivalry and it dates back a longer period of time than now. But currently, they have this thing where Oedo Tai wants to basically kill off Stars. Natsuko Tora is obsessed with killing off Stars, which is interesting because Natsuko Tora used to be a member of Stars like way back in the day. But she wants to kill off Stars. She hates Mayu for some reason. And she's already taken Fukuchin Death. She's already taken, what's her name? And now, through the match they had on Tokyo Dream Cinderella, she has taken Starlight Kid, who has been a faithful of Stars for years now. And, even though Fukuchin Death still is like the sad clown, she's kind of almost adjusted into being in Oedo Tai. Like, she's taken a part in some of the actions they're doing. Starlight Kid does not want to be there. She is sad. She's upset. They're forcing her to do everything. And you really badly want to see Stars get her back. You really badly want to see it. And that's why I love this storyline so much. Because you don't see it too much in wrestling where somebody has to join another faction and you want to see them get back. The last time I could think about it, and trust me, I know there's been more done than just 2010. But the last time I could think about this storyline happening, and y'all gonna laugh at me, but the last time I could think about this storyline happening is when John Cena joined the Nexus. Y'all remember 2010 when John Cena lost to Wade Barrett and he was forced to join the Nexus? And then, wasn't he part of Nexus for one fucking week and then he turned on them and that was it? It was a 1 week thing. He's a part of Nexus, or maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. But you felt bad for John Cena because you want to see him get out of Nexus. But now Starlight Kid, who's been a faithful of Stars for such a long time, is forced to join. Now you're thinking, will she be brainwashed? Or will she actually fight her way out of Stars and go back and rejoice in Mayu Iwatani? It's an interesting storyline to follow. So yes, I'm actually interested by this story. Darling Boy, he asked me a pretty good question. The influence of... Actually, I'll answer this last because I like this question a lot. Venom V1 asked me, what are some of your favorite Joshi wrestlers outside of Stardom and big promotions? Mio Watanabe. She wrestles for, I believe, TJPW. She impressed me so much on that Hanakamura Matane show and the Cyber Fight Festival. Mei Hoshizuki. She was also on the Cyber Festival show, and she faced Azumi, I believe, at the Osaka Dream Cinderella show last year. She impressed me a lot. She's part of Marvelous. I've been following her a bit here and there. I believe her name is Miyu Momono. Momono? I don't remember her name. But she was in all pink during the Hanakamura Matane show. I believe her name is Miyu Momono. But I might be wrong. Or Mio Momono. But she impressed me a whole lot during that Hanakamura show. So she's one of my favorites. Obviously, I love Maki Ito. Y'all know I love me some Emi Sakura. But another one who I'm starting to get into little by little, Arisa Nakajima. She's really starting to grow on me a lot. So I have like those 5 right there. Those are my 5 key ones. But I have another one from Darling Boy, who asked, the influence of interest music when it comes to presentation of wrestlers. I spend a good portion of my day listening to music, so I like to hear you ramble on about some of the best or worst entrance themes of today's past or present. Darling Boy, you have a great point. I believe entrance music is one of the key factors in what makes a pro wrestler. As somebody who used to run an E-Fed or a V-Fed, somebody who used to do a 2K series, one of these days I want to do it again because I miss it, but I don't have time for it now. I used to run a 2K series where I used to create wrestlers and have them in matches. The entrance music is so important because you could have the best character in the world, but if the entrance music does not match up with their character, if the entrance music does not hit hard, if it doesn't strike a chord with the viewer, if it does not make you get excited when they come out, then the character can almost slip away in that sense. So it is very integral to professional wrestling. And I figured I would take a little bit of time to go over one of my favorite theme songs of the past and the present. There's not too many songs I hate. The only song I think that I hate right now is Nikki Cross's theme song. Whatever her theme song is now, that country-esque theme song, I hate that song. But to go into some songs that I liked from back in the day. Cesaro's original theme song, Miracle. They're smoking his chair, hot dog in the chair, all that kind of stuff. Cesaro's theme song, Miracle. I like that song a lot. And I didn't understand a single word they said. But I liked that a lot because it fit the character. The instrumental of it's bum 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 bum. It was like this pending doom type feel to it. But then the chord that would strike afterwards, and it gave it this bum bada bum 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 bum. Then it got you all excited and amped up. And Cesaro would come out and he would just have his hands behind his back, and he was always serious. And then he would come in there and he would just wreck shit. It worked for Cesaro. It really worked. I mean, another one that worked for the character that I didn't understand a single word of the theme song was Santino Marella. Even though his theme song was kind of jokey, looking back at his theme song, he was a goofy character. And the theme song, the trumpets going off, it worked, man. It worked. It's one of those theme songs where you hear it and you instantly get excited because you know Santino's coming out. And that's the beauty of theme songs. One of my favorite theme songs, and it is not more so because of the character, but just because I like the song, Heath Slater, Justin Gabriel. Not Nexus per se, because Nexus had a banger with the song. I could throw Nexus in there too. But Heath Slater, Justin Gabriel, by themselves collectively had a theme song called Black or White. Or maybe it might be called Black and White. Not the Michael Jackson song, but they had a song called Black and White. That I'm the master of disaster that makes you keep this from me. That song hit so hard, bro. It hit so hard. Another one, Bobby Roode's theme song. Now, I'm almost certain he still has his theme song. But in 2016, when he debuted to the glorious theme song, it lived rent-free in my head for the rest of the year. I played that song in the shower. I played that song in my E-Fed. I played that song on the bus to school, to college. I played that song everywhere, bro. You could not stop me from playing Glorious. And I didn't care that it was a wrestling theme song. That's one of the best theme songs. The best theme songs are the theme songs that you could play out in public or wherever and not give a fuck that it's a wrestling theme song and nobody knows what it is. You just fucking love it. Those are the best theme songs. And Bobby Roode's theme song is one of them. Another one would be Shinsuke Nakamura's theme song. Not the ruined one they did because he's turned heel, but the original one. But here are some theme songs from the current day that I like. The Fiend's theme song. Even though the Fiend is a ruined character, imagine if the Fiend came out to Bray Wyatt's theme song. I don't think it would have hit as hard as the Code Orange remix of Heal Her, and then the female singing the Can't You Fly. Like, the way they remixed the old version theme song to this day, I feel like is still one of the best WWE theme songs of the modern era. Like, it just worked, and it perfectly encapsulated the Fiend's essence and character. Another one from New Japan, Evil's theme song. I may not like Evil now. I may not like the direction that Evil's going in. I may not like Evil as a wrestler currently. But when Evil turned heel and he came out at Dominion 2020 to the new theme song and the new gear, it was, oh my God. Like, I still listen to Evil's theme, even though they have not released the official version of it. I have listened to bootleg versions of it on YouTube. Evil's theme song gives me vibes of I'm in hell. When I hear Evil's theme song, I'm like, this is what hell sounds like if I was entering through it. This sounds like the devil. If the devil wrestled, this would be his theme song. And it hits so hard too. Like, it reminds me a little bit of Tekken 5. Tekken 5, I don't know if any of you ever played Tekken 5. Some of you probably did. But Tekken 5, Devil Jin's Arena. I forgot what the song was called. But Devil Jin's Arena. I wish I could play it on here for you guys. I can't because audio and copyright. But Devil Jin's Arena had this very distinct song that never leaves my brain because I'm like, if the devil had an entrance, this would be it. And because Devil Jin, that makes sense. But it kind of gives me essence of Devil Jin from Tekken 5. And that's why I love Evil's theme so much. Another one is Kenta. Kenta's current theme song is so irregular because it doesn't have a congruent beat to it. It keeps a beat at points, but it's not linear. Like, it would be bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum. Like, what kind of beat is that, bro? What kind of beat is, like, it doesn't make sense, but it works. And then you get into the bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, bum. Here I am trying to telegraph this fucking song to you guys. Kenta's theme song fucking rocks. I still listen to it to this day. When I want to feel like a badass, I'll listen to his theme song. Lastly on this list, we have two more. Santana and Ortiz theme song. Not the current one. I'm not a fan of the current one. I don't know why they even remixed the current one. The one that goes, if I wasn't proud, then I wouldn't be powerful. If I wasn't proud. Like, it gave me that essence of these are two badass motherfuckers from the hood that you don't want to mess with. Two badass Puerto Ricans I don't want to mess with. The theme song, the lyrics, they all sync up with it. Santana and Ortiz, they come out like fucking gangbangers and everything. Like, it's a perfect encapsulation of the theme song and the wrestlers and the entrance all syncing up with each other to make a perfect, just a perfect melody. And then lastly, Roman Reigns' current theme song. It's not the best one on this list, but Roman Reigns' current theme song, it gives me Fallen Angel vibes. Like the opera in the beginning, even though I feel like Seth Rollins and Bayley's opera original theme songs kind of overdone. But the opera beginning, and then it just has this crash feeling. Like it just feels like it's this ascension to heaven. And then there's Roman Reigns, and then it just comes crashing down. And as you're falling down, the theme song starts. Bum bum ba bum ba da 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 ba da da ba ba da ba da. We've wanted Roman Reigns to have a different theme song for so long, and I feel like this was the perfect song for him, and it worked. I did have another question from Ikatar Husan asking me about my personal memories from wrestling. But the only reason I won't answer that here is because this is a good idea for like another video, like a separate video. So Hassan, I'm going to take this question and make maybe even separate videos on it because I like that question a lot. But guys, this was Chillspo Podcast episode 53. I was going to do 50 rapid fire wrestling questions, but I did not want to go over 1 hour, and we already did. So we'll save it for another day. Save your tears for another day. Why did I forget his name? The Weeknd once said, save your tears for another. Anyway, I'm out of here. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. I love you as always, and I will see you all next week for episode 54 of the Chillspo Podcast. Peace out, guys.